There's been a sort of assumption that one size fits all, that the same recipe for happiness, if we could only find it, would suit everybody. And I don't think that's true. I think there are different approaches that work well for different people. People who are relatively altruistic and cooperative tend to be rather happy. Religious people sometimes. Sometimes people's happiness comes mainly through the family. What doesn't work so well is a really sort of materialistic and careerist approach, which seems to lead to unhappiness even in the sort of areas of life to which those people give priority, like their job and their income. There was a period between about 1985 and 2005 when Western life satisfaction researchers believed that most people had a set point, a fixed point of life satisfaction, which depended on more or less genetic personality traits, especially neuroticism and extroversion. And then when we got the panel data, it slowly became obvious that that paradigm for life satisfaction research was just wrong. So the set point theory was actually kicked out by the German data, pure and simple. What always happens in all the sciences is that people fight like hell to retain the old paradigm, and they try and patch it up and in all kinds of weird ways. So there are still people around who say that in the long run people may revert to the set point that might be predicted by their personality traits, but I regard that as plain nonsense. I think there's some people who have a fairly fixed set point, probably rather dull lives actually, but other people it's a wild ride. Some of the choices you make, if you marry somebody who's more neurotic than yourself, you're done. And if you marry somebody who's rather nice and less neurotic than yourself, then that permanently increases your well-being. So there's actually quite a lot of choices. Hours of work make a difference. People who work a lot more hours than they want, or a lot fewer, are really quite a lot less unhappy than people who've got it about right. And that's not entirely a choice, of course. It depends on your employer as well as you. Academics and vicars are the longest lived people on the planet, and about the shortest lived are doctors and dentists. So there's clearly something in the occupations that people get into that has an effect on longevity, and almost certainly that's via happiness. So people who are happier do live longer. That's absolutely clear. Well, I'd like to tell you I was one of the first people in the world to recognise that it was the biggest gold mine on the planet for people who are interested in social and economic change. It's really the only panel study in which you can observe all kinds of social and economic and health and housing changes now through 3 generations. I mean, now there's quite a number of grandparents as well as parents and kids from the same families. So, I mean, in the end, I think SOEP will show that traditional sociology is just bilge. I mean, just that there isn't any such, transgenerational structured inequality will turn out to be more untrue than true. Which was wonderful. The guy, the chairman of the Friends of the DAA, presented the prize and a certificate, and a second after the certificate was presented, somebody knocked orange juice all over it. And we all laughed, you see. And the guy said, "Oh," he said, "we'll replace it. I said, "You won't." I said, "It's a much better story to have orange juice all over the thing." So I have that on my wall, and there's a very fine orange juice stain,